Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to be breaking down and reviewing the 11th game of the Spyro franchise, The Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning. This game was created in 2006 and was developed by Chrome Studios and published by Vivendi Universal Games. This was made for the Game Boy Advance, GameCube, PS2, Xbox, and Nintendo DS. In this particular video, we're going to be reviewing the PS2 version. This is actually a complete reboot in the Spyro series, so besides Spyro and Sparks, this is a brand new cast of characters and a whole new storyline. The game starts off when Ignitus tries to hide the eggs before the Dark Master's army arrive. As they start to rush in, Ignitus grabs the purple dragon egg and escapes. He then releases the egg down the river. This then cuts to Spyro and Sparks playing hide and seek and allows us to start the game. As every Spyro game, this is your chance to learn the mechanics and controls. After progressing for a bit, a member of the Dark Army goes and captures Sparks. Here you learn how to use your combat moves and your flame powers. We then return to Sparks and Spyro's parents where they learn the truth that Spyro is actually a dragon. Spyro then decides he's going to set out and find his home where Sparks decides to accompany him. There are no objects or talismans in this game to collect to reach 100%, so this will go by a little bit faster than previous videos. There are only crystals that can revive your health, revive your power, and give you abilities to upgrade your attacks. We then start our journey out in the swamp, where we are still learning basic controls and are fighting some pretty basic enemies. We then run into more of the Dark Army, and we start learning a few more combat moves as well. We then run into Ignitus, who is thrilled to see Spyro alive and well. He then explains more of the plot that we missed in the beginning and explains the temple and the prophecy of the purple dragon. After long discussions, it is decided that Ignitus will take us to the temple to show Spyro where it all started. On our way into the temple, the Dark Army knocked over two of the statues that lets you in. Ignitus sends us in to go fix them. After horny diving down, we are met by some spider-looking creatures. Defeating them and moving the statues back into place allows us to continue forward. After learning that we can't enter through the password, Ignitus helps us and has us restore every statue that we can find. After getting through this next wave, we learn we have to remove all of the Dark Army to get through the final door. After fighting quite a few, we are returned to Ignitus when the Dark Army arrives even more. Ignitus decides to take it upon himself and solos them all. But now he is too weakened and it's up to Spyro to clear out the rest of the army over here, which is not too hard. We then get to see the temple in all of its glory. Then, as we see the dragon statue, the last wave of the enemies appear. Once again, not a hard fight. After doing so, Ignitus has a feeling that they could actually beat Cinder and the Dark Master, and he begins to teach all that he knows. This includes multiple combos and a final power-up move that can eliminate most enemies near you. Spyro then finds out he has the ability to fly and unlocks that power. We then head towards our next area, Dante's Freezer, but first we have to make our way there. Using our newly acquired ability to fly, we begin our takeoff. In one of the more satisfying missions, we are flying through a vast open area with many pirate ships and cannons shooting at us. I think this is the first time besides a speedway in past games that we're actually able to fly and do something like this. I do wish they would have included this as a way to get to every new area. After arriving at Dante's Freezer, we see a bunch of frozen troops who quickly unfreeze to fight us. Who would have guessed that? But one of the more cool aspects of this mission was the ability to use snowballs and the catapults to help break the walls. After knocking down the first wall, we continue to advance through. We see someone ordering more of the Dark Army towards us, which is a common and repetitive trend in this game, unfortunately. So I'll probably skip through 50% of those. After progressing quite a few waves, we see our first glimpse of Cider flying above. After progressing farther into the level, we are met by a cutscene where Spyro is zapped from a lightning bolt and is charged by multiple enemies at once. He then sends a wave of electric breath towards these enemies and defeats them. This unlocks the ability to use the electric breath. One of my favorites in the game personally. After making it inside the fortress, ice begins to fall. It's not hard to dodge, but if you don't know what's going on, it might get you. Advancing through, we run into a whole different enemy. Thunder zapped the Frigid, riding some kind of beast. Defeating him sends in two more and some foot soldiers. After beating them, it allows you through the passage. After battling a lot more of the Dark Army, we are met by a brand new enemy, a Dreadwing. These are slightly more annoying. Defeating it just brings more and more into play. This is one of those super repetitive battle scenes. After defeating what seemed like 10 of them, we can advance into the cave to find Volter passed out. This is where we find our first major boss, the Ice King. He will send shards of ice down at you and will slam his sword to send more ice at you. Something I did was just spam your power attacks. There's a ton of green gems all around that will replenish your bar to continue attacking. There are 3 waves of rounds you have to defeat him in. In the last round, he will begin to use his ice breath as well. One of the more fun boss fights, in my opinion, in the whole series. It's also really nice to have someone new rather than Ripto and his grunts. After defeating the Ice King, Volter starts talking. You can see why he's the dragon of the electric breath. Bro does not take a break from talking. After returning to the temple and reuniting him with Ignitus, Voltaire begins discussing that his power was taken and was stolen in an orb from Cinder. Just like last time with Ignitus, Voltaire is going to take you through a gauntlet of new moves and combos you can use with your new electric breath. Afterwards, we are sent to Tall Plains, once home to a tribe of outlaws, excuse that, 100% butchered that, but to go rescue the Ice Dragon. After arriving, we are met by the Dark Army pretty quickly. One thing I like about this level is all the interactive buttons you have to find and click to make the platforms raise to reach the next portion. After finding all the buttons, you can then head to the next spot. We then see somebody captured and we decide to go help and rescue him. After defeating all of them, we then help him escape from his cage. The guy we rescue is quite the arrogant fella who does not accept Spyro's help. After pushing through farther into the level, the Dark Army starts to try and overrun you by sending in hordes of enemies to try and slow you down. Each time you make it up the ramp more, another horde appears. Defeating them all and advancing through will take you to a bridge that you can cross. After crossing, you have to activate all the water wheels to move ahead. There's a lot of enemies, and a lot of those enemies are on the cannons. We then find Kane, the man who we freed earlier, thrown into the river by some new looking enemies. Right at that moment, Spyro breathes out ice and freezes the river, unlocking yet another skill. The new enemies aren't hard to defeat. They really are just kind of a tank in terms of the health they have. After advancing through and defeating more of the Dark Army, we are reunited with Kane in what seems like a huge area full of the Dark Army. Kane still has no interest in helping Spyro. After advancing through, we are on the ship where it seems like endless members of the Dark Army come at you. Once again, a very long and repetitive battle. This then takes us to our next boss fight. This one was much easier than the Ice King in my opinion. You can defeat him by just spamming your flame power-up moves. After defeating him, Sparks and Spyro begin to be worshipped by the tribe. Also a full circle moment where you finally start to see Kane appreciate Spyro. We then return to the temple with Cyril. Just like the previous 2 times, Cyril teaches us some combos and attack moves with the Ice Breath. After finishing those, we head to our next spot in Munition Forge. After arriving, this place just feels like an active battlefield. Every part of this map does. The Lava Pit Island is just quite the spectacle, one of the louder places as well in my opinion. From the get-go, there is just enemies everywhere. We quickly run into Mole Yar, the leader of the Man We're Smalls, who lets us know his people was captured and forced into mining. He enlists us to help free his people in exchange of telling us where we can find Terrador. After freeing them, he tells us his people are held in the middle of a volcano. Once again, who would have guessed that? We push through hordes and hordes of enemies to find a bell. After ringing that same bell, it falls on Spyro. He then unlocks his Earth Breath, which is probably my favorite breath to use. Just feels like a hard-hitting attack. We immediately run into even more enemies that we could try this out on. Once again, it's by far my favorite breath. We didn't have to fly and try to chase after the caboose. This part just gave me a ton of anxiety, not gonna lie. It was really fun but stressful. We didn't take a wrong turn and just fly off the rails. Luckily, it was pretty sweat-free considering everyone could fly. After many enemies, we run into the conductor, our 3rd boss. This one was hectic. It took me a few tries to figure out how to exactly damage him. After figuring it out, you really just need to bait him into trying to run you over and he will hit the wall. As long as you stay out of the way, you should have 0 problems defeating him. After you do defeat him though and freeing Terrador, we get our first interaction with Cinder, who just looks absolutely terrifying. She instantly one-shots Terrador and begins to chase after you. This gives us our second chance to actually control Spyro flying, and once again one of the most underrated aspects of the game. Cinder really doesn't get close to hitting you at all. You just have to make sure to dodge the obstacles and escape the volcano. Right after escaping, Ignitus comes out and begins to spar with her. they both plummet to the ground and disappear. After this, we return to the temple with Terrador to learn the new Earth attack moves and combos. The council then decides it's up to Spyro and that it was time to pass the torch, leaving us to begin our final battle with Cinder, arriving at her lair Concurrent Skies. This might be the most repetitive level I've ever played in any game. We start off advancing through and find 3 platforms, and in order to make them move upwards, we have to defeat all the enemies. After defeating them all, we can make it to the next portion of the level. After pushing through, we get a cutscene of Cinder flying by and knocking sparks out of the air. We then just have multiple parts of where an enemy comes out and makes a barricade, and we have to fight our way through, a common trend in this level. After multiple barricades being broken, we find a gate that we can smash open. We are then met by the Electric King, who I guess is considered a mini-boss here. He isn't super hard to defeat, but one of the most badass looking characters in the Spyro universe in my opinion. We then go through an absolute gauntlet of enemies to finally reach Cinder. We see Ignitus trapped, who quickly yells for us to destroy the crystal. Right when we head over, we finally get our chance to battle her. She quickly smacks Spyro to the ground and we begin our battle. In the first round of fighting, she doesn't really pull out any sneaky attacks and it's really easy to hit her. After bringing her health down, we are sent to another cutscene where she once again easily sends Spyro to the ground and takes the orb and flies away. Ignitus then tells us that Cinder's actually from the same group of eggs, and that the Dark Master needed a dragon to help free himself from his prison, and that Cinder was actually corrupted by his dark powers. We then head to Convexity to stop Cinder once and for all. This is by far the coolest area in the game. Graphically, it was just so detailed, the music had this sinister style to it, it was just built up so much suspense for the final battle that was looming. We finally reach here to begin our rematch, and you could just spam your Ice Breath to completely wipe her health. She then flies into the air and sprays down fire as she is circling the map. This time, she is much more aggressive in her hits, and you can finally use your Ice Breath again to finish the job. After getting the energy, you can use your Final Fury attack to unleash a true dragon in you. After defeating her, she shrinks into a form just like Spyro. He decides he has to save her, even though she just tried to kill him. She is flung into the portal, but Spyro runs in and saves her quickly before. We quickly escape before the portal closes and return back to the temple. We finally have a final reunion with all the Guardians and Cinder. Even though the ongoing tension of Dark Master is looming, we decide to celebrate his success instead. I was pretty anxious about this game, considering this is a reboot and all the characters I got to spend the last 10 games with just got completely exiled from the game. I still really enjoyed it. In the future, I'd love to play the Game Boy DS version just to get a glimpse of the changes they had to make to really make it work. But it was a really neat game. I love how each member of the Dark Armies had the opportunity to have their own names. And it had by far the most combat out of any Spyro game. A whole new storyline that felt very theatrical and felt like much more time was spent on developing solid cutscenes. Also really cool to finally have a whole fresh start and stash of villains to fight. I'm very curious on how the Cinder relationship is going to be going forward. If Cinder will be a playable character or if Spyro will just be the only one. Also love the choices for the voice actors. David Spade is an elite pull for Sparks. My overall rating for this game would be a 7.5 out of 10. I thought the ending really saved the game for me. I really enjoyed the abilities and the absolute amazing combo moves you could do. Really enjoyed the graphics, and at times the soundtrack was absolutely cinematic. Unfortunately, at times it felt super repetitive, almost too much combat. In the peak Spyro games, it was really fun to have the open world where you can just explore and meet new characters and fight off enemies. But this felt more like a straight up combat game. The storyline was really good though. The next game in the series is The Legend of Spyro Eternal Night, which is the sequel to this game. So be on the lookout. And if you made it this far, please consider leaving a comment on what you thought about the game and a sub if you enjoyed this type of content. Plus, just leaving a like helps in more ways than one. Thanks for the support and thanks for watching.